name is Olivia Klopchin, and I was born with a birth defect called vascular malformation. Is something that you are born with. You usually notice it a couple months after birth or probably a year into your life because they do become more visible over time. Mine was noticed when I was about 2 months old. My family, my mom and my dad had brought me to the hospital and they thought that it was just a bruise, but they'd never dropped me or done anything that could have caused me to bruise. So they had taken me to a specialist and they said right away it was a vascular malformation. This is my arm. What I have are varicose veins, which you can't really see outside on the surface of it, but what you can see are old blood clots, and the old blood clots come because my veins don't have a muscular wall around them to keep their shape. My veins expand and they clot. It's basically just a big jungle of veins in my arm, but a lot of the old blood clots that I have, they actually calcify, so they get really hard. This one right here, it's just a hard little ball in my arm now. With other ones, when they make my skin expand, like this was once a blood clot. Your arm or your leg, wherever you have it, it's going to constantly be expanding. There's going to be new things added onto it. It's just something that you have to accept with this condition.
So you've got a magnificent pair of bananas. Oh, great heavens!
It is not treatable. It can't be fixed. There are different procedures that you can get that will either reduce the size or reduce the pain, because some people, including myself, it can be pretty painful, but other than that, there's no treatments that will cure it. I do get blood clots in my arm, but in any way, they're not life-threatening. They do stay in my arm. They don't move anywhere else, but they are very painful. Sometimes I'll get one and it'll only last for 5 minutes and it just feels like a tiny bruise. And other times they will last for a week, and sometimes they're in my shoulder, so I can't move my arm around at all. I grew up in I'd say small town, Rutland, Vermont. There weren't a lot of kids in my school, which I think probably did make it easier because there weren't so many cliques here and there. Everybody kind of knew each other. Everybody's family knew each other. It was a small town, but it was always fun. Yeah, everybody's always very cautious around my arm, which I do appreciate because I can get at an outsider's perspective, it probably looks scary and painful. Yeah, I appreciate how nice everyone is and how cautious they are. There are a couple days where I do have to do some things differently that don't fit in everybody's daily schedules, and that is when I have a blood clot. That's when I need a bit of help from either my mom or my dad. I can't always get a shirt on. I can't always take a shower correctly. Other than that, I try to be as independent as possible. When I travel outside of my small town, people don't see everyday things like this. This isn't their normal, like it is for my friends and my family. They look at me and they just see me, but other people, they see my arm. And I have no problem with that. I totally understand why they would, but I am not afraid to show it off. I don't like to cover it up. Sometimes they're curious enough, they'll come up to me and they'll ask, hey, what's wrong with your arm? And I explain to them, and they usually just say, oh, thank you, okay. I feel good telling them what it was because it's scary to other people. It looks scary and it's big and it looks bruised. A lot of people think that I broke my arm and I'm just walking around without a cast or anything. I consider myself a very optimistic person, and I think what's really helped a lot with that is definitely my family and my friends. It was about 2 months to a month after I just moved to that new school, and somebody had came up to me and said, I don't even notice your arm anymore. It's so normal, like we just see you, we don't even see your arm. And to me, that was just kind of like, wow. Because when I look at myself in the mirror, of course I see my arm, but I also see every other part of me. And it was nice to know that other people saw me that way too. And I think just having all of this positivity flooding in, it really made me like, wow. I'd say my support system is probably my mom or my grandmother. They're the two people who I go to the most about everything, especially my mom, because I'm with her most of the time. My mom is like my best friend. So whenever anything's wrong, I always go to her. She's the one who kind of babies me. She takes care of me. She, I guess, nurses me back to health. I think my mom and my dad probably went through the most alongside with me growing up, because they were the ones having to bring me to the hospital. And I wasn't able to like comprehend everything these big fancy doctors were saying. So I think for my parents, it was probably really scary hearing all those things. I decided to share my story on social media because I'd never seen anyone like me before. And I thought, hey, if I put myself out there, I'm sure there's other people who were in my shoes who had never seen anyone like themselves before online or anything. And like, I wanted them to be able to be like, hey, I'm not alone. This person also has this too. They can also do these normal things. They have normal life and all these other things. I wanted other people like me to see that there are more of them out there and not in a hospital. People with disabilities are still just as normal as you. Everybody has a story, and mine just happens to be a little wonky, so I wanted to share that.
Take it off!
I would rather die.
Things I want to do for the future, I want to make an impact on people's lives to show them that they're beautiful. Everybody's beautiful, no matter what you look like, no matter how you feel about yourself. I want everybody to know that they're beautiful. Just because they don't fit into all these beauty standards doesn't mean that they can't feel beautiful, like with their own standards. Like, you can create your own standards, and I want everybody to know that. So I really appreciate you all listening to my story. I really hope you got to learn something new out of this. People just like me, just like you, we're normal. Just because we don't look the same, we're still normal. Go look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you're beautiful, because you are, and I hope you realize that.